Hey, good Tuesday morning. Yeah, Tuesday morning. Can you believe it? We're like really, really close to Christmas. And it's wet out there this morning. We didn't get any snow here. At least I didn't see anything when I went out this morning. So wherever you are, I think over in the mountains they got some snow. So hope you enjoy it. But I want to talk about the Bethlehem Star. The Bethlehem Star. Everybody was excited about it. I saw things on Facebook starting probably back in November. People were talking about December 21st. They were talking about going out and watching this event. And I remember when I was a student at West Virginia Wesleyan College, and our professor, I took astronomy, and our professor would take us into the planetarium. It was one of the most greatest experiences as a student at Wesleyan, was to go into the planetarium, and they would close everything up, and it was just total darkness, and you would see the solar system. You would see the solar system, and he would show us just amazing sights that you can't see with your naked eye. And it was just a wonderful experience. And one of the students called out and said, "What about the star that led the wise men to Jesus? What about that star? Did it happen?" And the professor, he took us back to the last time that star appeared 800 years ago. And then he began to teach science, talking about the star. But he said that, in addition to the star being, he said the alignment of the Bethlehem star only happens, again, every so often, like last time 800 years, I think it was. But here's the thing. He said that this thing that happened in the sky in the biblical times happened years before Jesus was born. And we often forget that here in America, in Western Christianity. I even see people posting pictures of their nativity scenes, manger squares, and you have the wise men there, and churches do it all the time. We put the nativity scenes up. We put all the shepherds. We put Mary, Joseph, Jesus. We put angel, and then we put the wise men in there because it looks beautiful. It's one of those Christmas card moments. But that's not how it happened. The wise men were probably from Babylon. That's what a lot of scholars believe. They were from Babylon. Now, why do they believe they were from Babylon? Well, because when you go back to the book of Daniel, Daniel and the nobles of Israel was taken as slaves. They were taken during battle, and they were taken back to Babylon. And it was there where they were trained, but they held on to their customs. They held on. Daniel and his friends would not eat what the Babylonians ate. Daniel and his friends would not worship any gods of Babylon. They worshiped their own God. And so the scholars believe that these folks who came from Daniel and the Israelites who were taken as slaves were probably the ones who held on to the faith and were watching for the Messiah to come. And being raised in Babylon now, holding on to the faith of their fathers. But they also took up astronomy, and they began to look for the signs for the Messiah to come. And this professor at West Virginia Wesleyan was talking about this and showing the stars and the alignments in the planetarium. And he said that you got to remember that what happened was a God event. It was a God event that allowed these wise men to come. And we forget that. We forget that it was a God event. But last night there was people from all over the world watching for this moment, this Bethlehem star to appear. And I want to share with you Matthew chapter 2. I'm going to wait till after Christmas to read the whole story to you. But Matthew chapter 2, it says in the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise men from the east, they came to Jerusalem. They asked, "Where's the child who has been born King of the Jews? For we observed his star at its rising, and we've come to worship him." And so these wise men followed the star. They followed the star to where it took them, and it took them to Bethlehem. And last night, yesterday afternoon, I got a phone call from a friend over in Garrett County, Maryland, and he asked me. He said, "Hey, Wild Bill, you going to be watching that star tonight?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm going to check it out." And I said, "But I don't think we're going to be able to see it from Harrisville." I said, "It's cloudy and it's supposed to be rainy." And I said, "I doubt we'll be able to see it." And he said, "Well, I'm going to go to the top of Wisp Mountain over in Garrett County. So I'm going to go to the top of Wisp Mountain. I'm going to try to look. I want to try to get as high as I can without any distractions. I want to see. I want to try to focus. I want to try to see what everybody's talking about." Now, he doesn't go to church. He doesn't go to church. He walked away from church years ago, and I asked him why he walked away from church years ago, and this was a conversation from several years ago. And he told me, he said he walked away from church because he said he's been looking for that big moment to experience God, that big moment. He's been looking for that big miracle. He's been looking for that time when he would know without a doubt that he was in the presence of God. And he said, "Let me tell you," he said, "churches I go to today," he said, "no." He said, "Everything's geared towards certain groups." He said, it's all marketing. It's all public relations. And if you want a certain age group of people, you bring in this music, and that music's going to bring people in, and we get a concert, we get entertained for 45 minutes, we get an inspirational message, and everybody leaves." And he said, in other churches, it's, this video and that video. And he said, "I want an encounter with Jesus. I don't need all the music. I don't need all this. I don't need all that." He said, "I just want Jesus." And I said, "Well, have you ever experienced a miracle?" He's like, "Miracles?" And I said, "Yeah. Have you ever experienced a miracle?" I said, "Because I guarantee you, as a kid, you experienced miracles. You just didn't realize it. And even today, you experience miracles. All of us do. It's not just a star that appears every 800 years." And he thought about it, and he said, "No," he said, "I don't think I have experienced a miracle." I said, "Yes, you have." I said, "My parents taught me. My parents taught me grace. My parents taught me forgiveness. My parents taught me what it was to be loved." And to me, that's a miracle. That's one of the great miracles. And I remember as a kid, 5 years old, this was before my dad died, but I was 5 years old. We had our relatives come in from Baltimore to visit. My sister and my cousin Dawn, they were out on the front porch. They were playing Barbies. And my sister's like 4 years older than me, and they were playing Barbies, and I don't know what else they were playing out there, but I was chasing my cousin, and I can't remember which cousin it was, but because as I get older, I kind of forget the details of some of those things. But I remember chasing him through the house, and when I was chasing him, I was getting closer to him. He decided to run out the door, and when he ran out the front door, he slammed the screen, or not the screen door, the storm door. And the storm doors in those days, they had glass. They didn't have this plastic stuff. It was real glass. And as I was getting close to that door, I pushed my hands out to hit the door to open it. But when he closed it, he slammed it, and it locked in place. And when I hit the glass, I went through the window. I went through the window. It was like Superman. Yeah, it really was. It was like Superman. And what happened was, it cut me from here down to here on my wrist. And Mom grabbed a bunch of dish towels and cloths, and they wrapped my arm because the blood was just coming out. And I can't remember where Dad was. Dad wasn't there at that moment. At least I don't think he was. But I remember when they took me to Dr. Wilson's office on Ashfield Street in Piedmont, West Virginia. And when you walked into his office, his waiting area, they had the ashtrays out everywhere, and you could smell the cigarette smoke. This was a doctor's office, 1970s, yeah. And anyway, they took me back, and Dr. Wilson laid me down on the table, and I'm crying. I'm crying because it's hurting. And Mom's telling me that, Dad's going to be there. I didn't call him Dad. I called him Sheriff. And she said, "He's going to be here anytime." And I'm crying because I am afraid. I am scared. I know I'm going to get in trouble for what I did to the glass door. And when Dad comes in and he stands by the table right by my head, and I look up at him and he has tears running down his cheeks. And my first words to him was, "Sheriff, I'm sorry." And he said, "It's okay." He said, "The door can be replaced. The glass is going to be fixed. I'm more concerned about you." And I started crying. I said, "Sheriff, don't be mad at me." And he had tears running down his cheeks. And what I learned from that moment, because Mom told me later on, he wasn't crying. I mean, he was crying because he was worried about me, but he had tears running down his cheeks because he was upset more about me being afraid that he was going to get mad for what I did. And when Mom and I had this conversation as I grew up and when I went in the ministry, what I realized was that was grace. That was grace. That was one of those moments early in my life where I learned what forgiveness was, where I learned that there is a Father in heaven who loves us, who forgives us, who wants to have that relationship with us. And when we're in trouble, we have a need, He's going to be there, not to scold us, but to carry us through those moments of life when life is hard. And I was thinking about all the people last night that went out looking for the star. In the Bible, the wise men followed the star, and it led them to Jesus. It led them to the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. It led the wise men to the Messiah, and the Messiah would lead the whole world to the Father. And I pray that everyone that watched that star last night, everyone who took that time to look up into the heavens, I pray that you had an encounter with God. And I pray that your life made you think, your mind made you think about your relationship with God. Because you know what? God is real, and God created the heavens and the earth. God made the star appear and lead those wise men, because those wise men never gave up. Their fathers and forefathers, their mothers and foremothers told them about the Messiah that would come, and they continued to watch the skies from generation to generation. And when they saw the star, they followed it, and it took them to Bethlehem. And by the time they got there, Jesus was already a boy, and Jesus was in a house, not a manger. Yeah. So that's a little trivia tidbit for you for Christmas. And this is Pastor Bill. I hope that wherever you are today, I hope that you have that encounter with the Messiah. And I hope if you went out to look for the star, I hope you followed it, I hope you found it, and I hope it led you to Jesus. Hey, this is, again, Pastor Bill from Ritchie County, West Virginia. Wherever you are, I hope you're happy, I hope you're healthy, and I hope you're safe. Have a great day, and God bless.